Ashes of Creation is fucking dead, right? I made a video about this when the game first came out on alpha on Steam. I played about 15 hours and I gave my thoughts. And honestly, the people in the comment section were like, Evan, no, the game's not empty. No, the game isn't full of empty content. It's actually an amazing top tier, one of the best MMOs ever made. And then, you know, not even 2 months later, Ashes of Creation shuts down. The whole company laid off. Steven Sharif caught in a web of lies and intrigue. And we're going to dive over the entire situation, but I just want to say right off the rip, I am not surprised. Not because Ashes of Creation is a bad game, but because the scope creep was genuinely beyond fucking cope. There was no universe and MMO of that quality, of that much content, of that much anything was ever going to make it. And the fact that everybody truly believed that an independent game, an independent company, with supposedly only $50 million, was going to make an MMO work to that capability. And it turns out that A, it wasn't fully self-funded, B, holy shit were there a lot of investors, and C, every single person was lied to and honestly, scammed. Ashes of Creation could have been a good game had they not let scope creep shit the bed. At the end of the day, Ashes of Creation is a game that needed to genuinely crush down the scope of the project and release a finished game. Let's just dive into the drama right off the rip on exactly what happened. Steven Sharif has made many statements in the time frame since the game shutting down to now, right? I can make a limited statement in my personal capacity, not on behalf of the company regarding the situation. Control of the company shifted away from me and the board began directing actions that I could not ethically agree with or carry out. As a result, I chose to resign and protest rather than lend my name or authority to the decisions I could not ethically support. Ashes of Creation for the longest time was touted as being self-funded. No investors, no outside influence, fully self-funded, an independent game, not held to the whims of corporations or venture capitalists. And it turns out that that was effectively a lie, right? We don't know the scope of how many investors, the scope of how many venture capitalists, the scope of how many loans Steven took. But he effectively had to keep on diluting his shares, diluting his entire ownership of the company to end up, effectively having no control. But now there's another thing I've been hearing. Steven Sharif was the only member on the board. So the board members he's talking about here aren't board members, it's the people he owed money. So him blaming the board members is Steven Sharif blaming himself. It's like Spider-Man pointing at each other. And realistically, I get it. You needed more money. You kept selling out more and more shares of your company. By the end of it, you were the only board member, but you had no fucking power. But the amount of lies given into your community, given to your audience is genuinely a travesty of such a high degree that I have not seen a community this gaslit in so long. There are genuine people who truly think that Ashes of Creation is still going to survive after this. There are genuinely people who truly believe that Ashes of Creation isn't dead and that the game is going to make a comeback, they're going to fix all the issues, and they're truly going to give everybody the love, the hype, and the game that they've all been waiting for 8-9 years now. It's not happening. Just like Wildstar's never getting rebooted, just like all the MMOs of the old days that are dead, they aren't coming back. Game's cooked. But let's keep reading. Following my resignation, much of the senior leadership team departed. Following those departures, the board made the decision to issue WARN Act notices and proceed with a mass layoff. I cannot responsibly speak to further details at this time due to ongoing legal and governance matters. What I can say is that the developers and staff acted in good faith and deserve better than the uncertainty that they are now facing. I am incredibly dismayed by the situation. Let's just discuss the whole situation of the whole company being laid off, the whole company being let go. Venture capitalists and investors and loan companies, right? These people don't give a shit. If they're not making their money back, they're not going to keep funding a game. So if Steven Sharif, the person they lent the money to, and who they bought the shares of the company from, just steps down, the logistical answer here for these kinds of corporations isn't bring in another leadership, bring in more people. It's to cut their losses, file bankruptcy, and wipe off the amount of money they lost in their taxes. They don't care. People always say, why would a company cancel this project or cancel this $400 million game? They put all this money in, then they lose the money? No. Tax loopholes. Tax loopholes off the ass. That 400 million in loss isn't lost money. It's 400 million they get to write off from the rest of the company. Now, Steven couldn't write off 400 million. He doesn't have that much kind of money. But Asher's probably owed anywhere from 10, 15 million up to 100 million. I don't know how many loans he took. I would estimate on the lowest end 5 million is what he took, is what he owed. Like I said, it could be as high as 20 million. We just don't know exactly how much Steven took a loan from. So when Steven steps down, these people he owes money to, they're just going to write it off as a loss. They don't give a shit. These are companies that loan money to dozens of small companies. The write-offs are insane. They don't care. Now, yeah, the Red Lobster playbook, exactly. There is more to this. Kira himself made a video 2 days before this news broke, right? He made a video saying, I heard some very depressing information, some very concerning information, and I truly don't want to put any credence onto this yet because it's unsubstantiated. But if this is true, it's absolutely diabolical. And then, not even 2 days later, boom. It turns out that Kira was right. The company is shutting down, and effectively, Steven sold the company months ago. So let's just read on to what happened. So Kira released a video below where he goes into more detail about what happened with Asher's creation. He talks about receiving internal documents from employees and confirm much of what's already been out there. A new development that he is revealing here is that according to documents he has seen, Steven actually sold Intrepid months ago to a private equity group. The new owners want to downscale the team and ship most of the studio's development work overseas. He says he has more info coming up, but he is working confirming things with receipts. He goes on to talk about how the employees are being completely screwed and likely won't be paid for the last month of work. He's trying to be very careful with additional info because it has legal implications. Right off the bat, we saw documents showing that he owned loans, some of them paid back, some of them not fully paid back yet, to 9 different entities. And on top of that, he has sold his company. Why would he sell a game that a company that was doing well, that was financially in the positive, that was financially in the green? For the longest time, Steven has been saying, we don't need outside investors, we don't need outside money, we are self-funded, we don't need outside investment. This is a game made by gamers for gamers. And all I want to say is, people shit on me for having this opinion, but a full open world PvP MMO was never going to make it. I'ma stand on that hill. A full open world PvP MMO was always going to start to die off because the people that play the most, the sweatiest, will drive off new players. And the game will continuously decline because there's no way for a regular average Joe to look at the game state and be able to get into it and play at a decent or high level once you're so far behind. And now if you look at every single Reddit thread, every single Twitter thread, every single message board, the top comment is, I hate to say it, but we told you so. The Steam release reeked of a last-ditch pump and dump scam. Honestly, all of the AFC players should take part in a class action lawsuit against this creep. Video essayists are gonna be eating good. Kira salivating at the content to be made. Second, who are we? We aren't governed by greedy corporate overlords. I'm funding the projects. No investors or a board to answer to. No publishers to appease. This is 4 years ago. First, what we are making basically risk versus reward. Not everyone is a winner. A world that develops around the player. No pay to win. No quality of life items. Massive open world and emphasis on social/community driven systems. Second, who are we? We aren't governed by greedy corporate overlords. I'm funding the project and no investors or a board to answer to. No publishers to appease. We speak with, not to our community, and we actually listen to feedback and value respect our players. Literally every single thread is the exact same. Just calling out and quoting every single thing Steven has said in the past decade. Oh my god, I'm so excited for Asher's creation, the revival down the road by a private equity firm with outsourced development. Free to play, PvP gone, boosts everywhere. I spent an hour or 2 on that. That's the truest ending right there. We have enough funds to finish developing. Yeah, I sold the company to a firm that wants to lower dev cost. Still a scam. Claims he has fully funded the game, claims there won't be any investors, nor board, nor broad corporate interference. But he was asking other people for money as early as 2017. He went out and found the worst possible investors the company could have, venture capitalists and people with an MLM pass, and now those people have come home to roost. At the very best, Steven is an absolute imbecile and a liar. Too long didn't read. Steven sold the company, made millions and jumped ship, letting staff lose their jobs and not be paid their last months. Don't believe his PR spin on what happened. I'm sure there's going to be more and more information that comes out over time, right? From Kira's video to other instances. Like if we go to Kira's video, right, we're not going to watch the whole thing. I'll leave that react to another time. Even my boy Hello J Tello, a lot of people covered it. You were lied to, right? Yeah, it saddens me to see a lie spread about me. When I was 18, I was recruited to join an MLM company called Zango. He talks about the MLM stuff, so when I was 25, I began to get involved in investment and also in real estate, which is where I saw most of my success. I still am involved in those heavily today, but my primary focus is now developing Ashes of Creation MMORPG. He has constantly talked about being self-funded, self-developed, self-everything, and all we have now is effectively Ashes of Creation being dead. And it's a tragedy, because I truly hope that Ashes of Creation did make it. I hope that Ashes of Creation did thrive. But legitimately, all we're seeing, truly and absolutely all we're seeing, is the fact that people were lied to, people were scammed, and after 9 years, the company was sold, abandoned, and scrapped for parts. This is the end of Ashes of Creation. It's going to go down in history the same way WildStar did. A game that could have been amazing, launched poorly, couldn't finish itself, and ended up in the dumpster, never to be seen again. I feel truly sorry for the entire Ashes of Creation community, the entire Ashes of Creation player base, the entire Ashes of Creation audience who's been so invested, so in love, so truly dedicated to this game, to this type of gameplay, to have lost a decade of their life, of their investment, of their work into this game. And I truly wish the best for all the players, and I hope they find a new home in another MMO, another community, another game. But it's time to let go. Ashes of Creation isn't coming back. None of these investors or these venture capitalists or these people that own the game now are going to make the game. Even if they do, it's gonna be like Blessed Online. It's gonna be terrible, it's gonna be shitty, it's not gonna thrive unless somebody with a lot of money who's truly a gamer, who's truly dedicated to making a good game, like the owner of Rust, for example, buys out the game and launches it himself. He offered 25 million as a meme. Maybe they'll take it, maybe they'll let him make the game. We'll see what happens. I am sorry for your loss. Hey, there's never been a worse time to be an MMO player, because the only option is World of Warcraft Retail and World of Warcraft Classic. Welcome back to World of Warcraft. You got two choices. You're going to Blood Elves regardless. Thank you all, Ebonheart out.